Any corrections? All in favor? Dr. Hoffman, please give us the superintendent's report.
I'd like to recognize Ms. Caldwell for our safety update.
Good evening. So we are hopeful for the budget to pass. They're talking about it, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And hopefully that means funding for safe schools. I'm also not holding my breath on that. But we do have a nice wish list of needs across the district, equaling about $344,000 when I looked at today's running tab. And so we'll just have to prioritize needs and need to make ends meet where they need to meet across the district. So we are looking at that, and I am hopeful that the grant money will help us with that. Our rapid drills, we're completing those this month. We'll have 81 total safety drills and procedures reviewed across the district and all schools. 10 evacuation drills per school, 3 lockdown drills per school, and 1 shelter drill per school. And then this summer, I plan to work on revamping, revising, reviewing the Madison County Schools Safe Schools Plan and the MOU between Madison County Schools and the Madison County Sheriff's Department. It's time to look at that and review those and update them for the next 3 years.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being out in front of that. Yeah, there are things that come up regularly with us. I mean, there's the safety that we talk about, just bringing up the MOU that we have with all institutions that we go back and look at those, particularly with the Sheriff's Department, because it's always changing and evolving. So a good time this summer to do that. So happy that our arts program representatives are here and our teachers. We have such an outstanding arts program, and it's such a vital part of what we do every day in our schools. It's just critical for kids and really connecting us to our past, connecting us to our present. We've been through a lot of trauma. There are a lot of issues that have come up. And a lot of that comes out through the arts. It's really, really important to have that going on in our schools as part of a balanced education. Look at the core academic piece, athletics, you look at the arts. That's just all critical to becoming an educated person, to be able to think critically, to be able to reason, to be able to express yourself, to move through life. So I appreciate what our arts teachers do, and I want to give them a moment to come in because what y'all put on yearly with band, getting ready to go up to Washington for Memorial Day, looking at what is happening downtown at the Arts Council and the revitalization of that space, and just the beautiful art that's produced there. It's just amazing what our kids have on display. But it is a tribute to our teachers. So having Belinda Davis, Kirsten Davis, Mandy Sheehan, Miss Curry is back there. I've seen her in a while, and of course Brett Anderson, and others that couldn't be here tonight. But we have a tremendous faculty. So I'm not sure who's going to speak for the group, but I wanted to be sure that the board can hear from you and see some of the wonderful art that's produced by our kids.
Okay. So I don't have anything planned. I'm sorry. So yeah, we just had a Youth Art Month show, and it was only up for 2 weeks because the Madison County Arts Council was under construction right up until us throwing things up onto the wall. I looked at the numbers today. It's over 700 people that came through in a 2-week time period. So it is a show that creates a lot of excitement in our community, and kids bring in their grandparents, and it's a type of thing that it was really great for it to be the first show out of the gate for the Arts Council too, right downtown after the flood. I did just take down that show, and I brought in a piece that speaks to some of the social emotional needs that we need as instructors in the arts. This is a piece at the 1-year anniversary of the hurricane. My students took some time to reflect in writing about some of their memories, and they used that as a starting point to do some positive, negative cut paper silhouettes of their memories of the flood. And there is some documentation that I pulled from each student's writing that accompanies that. I'd love to hang that here for a little while.
Yeah.
I think at some point it's going to come up to the high school. I'm not sure. Yeah. So within those 700 people that came through, we saw the National Endowment for the Arts. They came through to look and see what was happening with the artists and the recovery from the hurricane. About 30 of the biggest movers and shakers in the nonprofit arts industry came to our town, and we got quite a bit of attention about the quality of our show. I mean, you've got to understand, I don't know if you've all made it to that show, but it's a big show in a real gallery. It's unlike a lot of the other shows where, you know, you just have a panel and a wall or something like that. So if you haven't made it out to our show, it continues to grow, and I would encourage you to try to make it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was amazing. And then to see that water line where the river was as it flowed through, you know, the council, and how far that facility's come.
And I don't know if this is like the time to
Yeah.
say this or not, but like as we continue to grow, and now that we do have a budget, it's been kind of hit or miss, like whether or not we receive funding every year. And it would be super helpful to us to be able to budget if we had a line item for, because we do use a lot of consumables. I wrote wrote and received $4,000 with the grants, and then just got some monies gifted to my program, and I spent every single dollar. I looked at it today on the breakdown. It was like amazing how much money I spent to do the amount of types of materials. Like, I mean, our kids get to do printmaking and clay and drawing and painting. And, I mean, this year I wrote a grant to try and get our kids outside with easels, and I mean, it's a really great enrichment for our students to be able to break from their day, to be able to do these kind of hands-on things and get them outside the building.
Absolutely.
But it costs money, and
Absolutely.
we appreciate your support, like every year, hopefully.
And I see those easels up there above the stage.
Oh, yeah.
Right there in the front of it.
Yeah, thanks to the electric company.
Absolutely. Other teachers want to say that?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. We had an electrical fire last year. It's kind of a running joke that I set the school on fire, but anyway, I just want to say thank you for approving the kiln that we have, and it has been amazing to be able to actually do clay with. I got to do one project with my second graders, and I'm finishing it up right now. So I just want to say thank you, and it's been a great support. But like Kirsten was saying, you know, I'm out of clay. I have a kiln, but I have
Having
nothing.
a dedicated
So,
line.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. And we haven't had a state budget since 2023. Maybe this year we can take a look at that and really get that piece solidified, because you do need to be able to plan. Absolutely. There's also the resolution that Belinda brought to me and we've looked at and we'd like to pass tonight in support of the arts. And we do believe in the arts and appreciate everything that y'all do again as a part of our overall curriculum and program. So I'm going to read this resolution, and then we will pass this resolution if the board thinks so, or during new business tonight. So the resolution reads, arts are education resolution. Whereas all students have the right to an arts education that includes dance, media arts, music, theater, and visual arts taught by certified art educators in partnership with community providers. Whereas art education has the power to change students' lives. Whereas arts education is key to igniting student learning. Whereas art education helps nurture healthy, inclusive communities where all points of view are respected. Whereas arts education experiences help students understand their own cultural roots and appreciate others' cultural roots and traditions. Whereas arts education supports the social and emotional well-being of students and fosters a more positive, safer school environment. Whereas arts education is part of the well-rounded education for every student as outlined in the Every Student Succeeds Act in state law. Therefore, the Madison County Board of Education pledges to maintain and grow its arts education program in the 26-27 school year and beyond. Read and approved this 18th day of May 2026. So the board will consider this coming up at the latter part of the meeting, probably. But thank y'all for being here, and thank you for all you do. And we will certainly, your consideration around the budget is certainly forefront to us now as we're working through the budget. Next up, we have CTE. Ms. Vaughn is here to talk about some exciting things at CTE.
First, I want to do just a little update on the home building project. So for Brush Creek lots 1 and 2 status as of yesterday, the survey fieldwork is complete. Filing and drafting is in process. Lot 1 is cleared and ready for county paperwork, so the waste card, address, perk tests, permitting, those things. The temporary construction entrance Not the video, but this is, I'll show you that in a minute, but that is roughed in. And our final entrance plans will be worked out between Madison County Schools and the Forest Service once they get their plan in for their facility next door. And Mr. Sams went and met with the science and ag teachers at the middle school to address goals and planning to make sure that the farm and barn area that the middle school science and ag classes work with doesn't get affected by our building process and this development. So all parties there are working together to achieve desired outcomes. This is from lot 1, so that is your view looking out over the store there with the middle school on the left. Let's see. And then just back across the mountains there. That's looking back onto lot 2, which will go up the ridge just a bit. And the other direction facing away from the middle school going towards Hot Springs. So we are looking at some great views for those first 2 lots especially. And then lots, let's see, 11 and 12. The back 2 lots will also have tremendous views. They're on more of a steep incline as well, back on the hill. So going forward, we are starting to work, Mr. Sams, to complete the required county paperwork. We're going to dig the perk pits and obtain those perk tests. Finalize the house plans. We're looking at 1,400 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, combining elements of what you've seen at Walnut Creek. And then bringing in a couple of other plans that we're looking at. And of course, we'll have those plans to you all before we move forward. The goal is to lower the cost of the house without affecting the quality of the house. Sorry, because prices have gone up, right? So looking at things like a crawl space instead of a basement and reducing size by approximately 150 to 200 square feet. So the Walnut Creek property sold for $239 a square foot. And so with the new homes and what we're looking at, that would be between $310 and $335. So we were really wanting to keep those into the $250, $275 range. So kind of looking at some different ways to do that, but it's difficult to meet without sacrificing energy efficiency, finishes on the houses, things like that are all going to affect resale. So we are looking at all those things. They are getting ready to start grading the house seat and assembling the wells and the septic companies and a group of contractors for electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. We are looking primarily, we start with companies that have ties to Madison High School, Madison County Schools, students in our system, recently graduated students. And then move outside of that if we need to, but we try to keep it all kind of close to home. This summer, we will be prepping some additional summer things off of that website. That site will be prepping footers for the shed and storage up at the high school outside of the masonry department. We weren't able to complete that this spring. And then we will have interns working for the full month of June. So right now we have 3 interns scheduled and working to bring 1 more on. We would like to have 4, so we have 2 on the site and 2 up at the school.
Are you talking students?
Student interns, yes. Some things that may affect our timetable, but we are going to work those in. In the fall, we're going to work with the Rollins community. They've asked for a picnic shelter down there. And so we've been talking with Ryan Cody, and we're going to work on getting that plan in place and building that out next fall. And then the high school has looked at having an observation deck built over the football field at the top of the hill. And once those plans are kind of nailed down and we're ready to move forward, then construction trades will plan to have a big foot in that as well.
So one of the things with Ms. Davis and the project where I see the kids up there with the easels is having a deck up there. They could go out over the stumps, but have a barrier there. But Andy went up, the maintenance crew went up and looked to see about building, or the band up there practicing. But it's got just a great view of.
It's a great view.
It's incredible. It's just beautiful. It's inspiring. So having our kids up there having an observation, that would be just really amazing to pull that off. So okay, and also go ahead.
So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. The other piece is, no matter where I am, I hear about our CTE projects. I'm on the radio, I'm getting interviewed and they talk about the project at Beach Glen or even down in Marshall, and it's the only thing that survived on the island was the pavilion that we built down there, and just how beautiful the entrance to the high school is, and on, and just the talent, and then, of course, the Walnut Creek House. But just to go back to the Brush Creek project, Brush Creek property, it's 14 acres there, and looking at these nice big lots, 1.7 acres, very nice lot there, the views, and then beside the lot, I'm not sure, we'll go back to some of those earlier pictures, but we will have the North Carolina Forest Service going in there as well. They're going to be putting a ranger station in beside our first lot that you saw. And so what that does for us is that we have, right kind of coming in, of course, Mr. Sam's has already met with CTE and this day, bought with folks from CTE at the middle school to be sure we're not getting in the way of that project, but coming in around this knoll at the bottom, you'll have a shared entrance there, is what we hope for with North Carolina Forest Service. And then there's 1.8 acres that'd be over here between this knoll and the middle school. There's an old barn there that has to come down. But having the Forest Service there, they can easily get on 25/7 to help fires, but they can also help to everything with going on at the school if there's an issue there. But also outside of the 14 acres, there's probably another 30 or so acres that you can develop trails, you can develop interpretive signage around flora, fauna, different things that they can help us with, control burns, and they're really managing that area. So I'm excited about that whole project. But this is a great start, and as you're driving down 25/70, you can see that first site there. So it's pretty neat stuff. It's really good.
See the excavators up there, son.
Now, one other great thing about the project too is that Ronnie Cutshaw will be doing survey work. As y'all know, Ronnie, he's just an outstanding graduate of Madison, just an incredible surveyor. He really likes to get into the history of projects, so I think you'll see a lot of really rich visuals of the project as we go forward.
Not this yet, right? You want to go ahead and do that one? The ceiling?
Yeah.
Let me grab the other.
Okay.
Okay. So Mr. Sams was supposed to do the house presentation tonight, but he wasn't feeling well and hated that he couldn't be here. So another big thing that CTE has been working on this year is the comprehensive local needs assessment. That you have, I think, in your packets, the executive summary, which tells you about the purpose of the application and kind of why we do this. It is a fiscal requirement. The CLNA is a federally mandated diagnostic assessment that we update every 2 years. And we're looking at gaps, labor market needs, barriers for students, and really making sure that everything is equitable for students and that all students have access to the same types of credentialing and classes and things like that. The CLNA builds into the CTE local application. And the CTE local application is the CTE, Madison County Schools CTE planning and funding document, and that's done yearly. So also in your packets are the projected budget sheets for, let's see, our state funding, our federal funding, as well as our 013 allotments. So where our months of employment, what teachers are paid out of what pot, that type of thing. So if you have any questions on those, feel free to ask at any time. But as part of the CLNA, we look at data metrics to start out with. And we have 8 different metrics that we are looking at that define meaningful progress for state CTE programs in North Carolina. Meaningful progress requires that we meet 90% of the local benchmark for at least one of the 2 previous years. And as of this year, based on the last 2 years data, we met meaningful progress in 7 out of 8 of the performance dashboard metrics. And a lot of these, I think your exact numbers are in there, but for example, on that 2S1, your academic proficiency in reading and arts, we beat our benchmark by 109%. So a lot of these, we really blew them out of the water. The one that we did not meet for the 2 consecutive years was the academic proficiency in science. And I do think it's important to note that the science EOG changed they changed their tests 2 years ago. So we are expecting to see growth in this area, but we have some strategic things in place to help build that. In our science-based classes, like our health science and our animal science, and things like that, to do some building towards and reinforcing the things that they're learning in their biology classes. The whole process has been like a full year process. And we look at 6 different areas, the first being your performance matrix. Then we look at labor market, how what we are offering is currently aligned with what our local labor market is looking for. We look at the size, scope, and quality of our programs, the career pathways that we offer, and are those career pathways setting students up for successful transitions, talent recruitment and retention, and equity is one of the big ones. So throughout the year, we gathered data using focus group surveys, parents and student discussions, to name a few. You probably have gotten one of my surveys at some point this year. And the following goals were set to identify these gaps. So with labor market, this one was interesting because when we did our research, one of the largest markets that we found that we were missing at Madison High School was actually automotive. And so we looked at adding in an automotive program or adding an automotive program back to a high school. At the same time, there's new legislative requirement phasing in computer science classes as a graduation requirement. So our automotive, those identified by our data, got pushed back to a 5-year plan. And on our 2-year plan is integrating our computer science. So in accordance with that legislation, we will phase in computer science courses at the middle school level by the end of the 26-27 registration year, and at the high school by the end of the 27-28 school year, as measured by course offerings included in the district's program of studies and student enrollment. So you can just see kind of our timeline there. And again, we are looking at that because of industry need, but also because of current legislation requiring middle school computer science requirement and a high school graduation computer science requirement. That is not something, we don't have any of those classes currently at our middle school or our high school. So that is a full new pathway phase in that we're looking at. Our second pillar was looking at scaling industry recognized credentials. So our credentialing number is pretty good. We're 15th in the state for the number of credentials that per capita. So looking at the number of students we have and the number of credentials that we get. We would like in the next 2 years to bring that to the top 5 in the state. So our goal here is that by the end of next school year, we're going to increase the CTE students completing an industry recognized credential from 65 to 75%. And by the end of the 27-28 school year, we're going to increase that completion to 85% as measured by the state credential attainment data through individual promotion, instructional alignment, and progress monitoring. Right now, where we are at our 65% is a lot of our non-optional credentials. So by phasing in some of the optional credentials that we have in our animal science classes, our foods classes and things like that, then I think we can very easily get to that 85% and be in the top 5 of the state. Our next pillar is aligning those credentials to regional 5-star jobs. So we're going to not only increase the amount of credentials that we're having, but we want to make sure that those credentials are beneficial for students. The 2 highest 5-star jobs that we don't have the credentials for right now are in health science and logistics. So we're looking at, in the fall, there's 3 new health science credentials that we'll be offering in addition to our CNA certification and our stop look lead training. And then logistics, I'm working with Mr. Witt on finding some different credentials and offering those through our machining classes, our mechatronic classes, and our heavy equipment operations courses. These two pillars, 2 and 3, really work together. And ultimately, if we're using our pillar 3 and making sure that we are offering things that are leading kids to beneficial careers and getting more students to that point, then we are elevating that baseline student experience and the local economic talent pipeline. So when people come looking for those individuals to come working for them, we have them ready to go. Our 4th pillar was stabilizing and growing leadership. So this goal was actually carried over from the previous CLNA because we did not reach that goal. When we looked at the data, the reason that we didn't reach that goal, no shock to anybody here, 3rd CT director in 3 years. So the consistency of those programs and those processes just weren't put into place. So what we are looking at is by the end of the 27-28 year, that a school year, 100% of CT and district program exit interviews will be collected, analyzed, and reported to identify trends, patterns that inform program processes and practices as measured by completed analysis reports, documents of findings, and evidence of recommendations implemented. So up until this point, there has not been an exit interview for when we have career and technical education leaders who leave teaching or leave Madison County schools or whatever that is. Career and technical education teachers typically don't go a traditional teacher route. So it can be very, very difficult to replace those teachers when the time comes. So we want to be sure that we are addressing any issues that might occur that would be causing teachers to leave either education in general or Madison County schools. So putting a formalized process into place for CTE at the middle and high school level is the goal of this pillar. And then our 5th pillar is guaranteeing access and equity. So again, this is looking at 100% implementation and documentation of modified instructional blueprints for all occupational courses studied students by 26-27. This is not a state mandated to have modified instructional blueprints, but it is a common best practice and is not something that we've currently been doing in the last couple of years. So the plan with this and what will start in the fall is that the teachers and the EC educators sit down together and they come up with a modified blueprint based on the CTE curriculum that fits the needs of that student in the occupational course of study. An occupational course of study student can take a CTE course as many times as needed in order to get all of the modules necessary to take their credentialing exams and things like that. So ultimately, this goal is set to make sure that we are not limiting the opportunity of students with special needs by following the strict, this is the blueprint, this is what you have to learn, this is when you have to take this test. Okay, so just to recap. All right, so we're looking at high value credential attainment, OCS blueprint implementation, general credential attainment, computer science integration, and the exit interview creation and analysis over the next 2 years. And then our primary impact of what completing those will be over the next 2 years is listed there as well. We have submitted our draft, and after your approval, we'll be able to move forward and finalize budgets and things like that. Any questions? If you have any, you have all kinds of things. You can look over. If you have any questions, please let me know.
When do you think you'll have the fall one? What's the?
So we're looking at a 1-year build time for each home. That is our hope. So once we break ground, So hoping everything goes, perk test, everything gets done the way it needs to do, we break ground next fall, and we would have that one. But we are gonna build our first two simultaneously.
That's what I was gonna ask. We're gonna get both at the same time.
We're gonna do the first two simultaneously, so we're hoping the whole build project for those two houses in 2 years.
How many kids do we have enrolled in those programs for next year for the construction trades that'll be on site? You know, right
Oh,
now?
gosh,
It may be early to ask that.
it's not, I just can't remember the
Sorry.
exact number off the top of my head. I do know this year we had 96 for the full semester, and, the program is definitely growing.
Yeah.
You see
So,
the trend up, where
Yes.
students will want to get in it.
yeah, our construction trades is definitely positively trending, and our health science is getting ready to go through the roof. We're having more and more questions about that program as well. And none of our programs are hurting, but as we add in new programs, it does take away, we're not necessarily adding in new students.
Yeah.
So it does take away from other areas when we do that, but we are also able to help students. Our ultimate goal is to help them narrow down what they want to do after high school, what they want to pursue secondary education in, and how to get there. One of the other big things that we're looking at is building in pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships for every single pathway that we offer. So that would be pre-apprenticeship work that is registered with Apprenticeship NC, and then identify students who want to continue on, that are going on to a community college. If they choose to work for an apprenticeship partner, then that gives them a tuition waiver moving forward for post-secondary education, things like that. We are finalizing our pre-apprenticeships for health science and machining right now, so our first two. And we have plans for 4 more, hopefully by the end of fall.
The Asheville Buckham Madison Works program,
Yes.
it has been very integral in that development. And so that's gonna open up a lot of those pre-apprenticeship options for our kids in other counties that we don't have access to.
Yes, absolutely.
The other thing, just one last thing, we were up there with the county commission last year, April 7th, last school year. There was a great integration going on there between the Exceptional Children's Program and the Foods Program. Are you seeing more of that developing? Because that was really powerful.
Absolutely. Those students came in, those students created lessons again, and had those students come in, and the food students conducted these lessons for Mr. Bill's students, and they were cooking in the kitchen and kind of helping them out. And then our marketing department actually this year was integral in the Special Olympics, and getting that kind of pulled together from a marketing standpoint. And they're looking at partnering with Inca High School next year to bring their students over and do a dual Special Olympics. So that's another really exciting thing that we're seeing. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd love to recognize Ms. Cahagan, who's going to do an update for testing, curriculum, and maybe some summer programs.
Yeah, Dr. Davis could not be here this evening, and then Ms. Hunsinger is actually up with Mr. Anderson at the Theater Arts. Haley, is that what it is, the Theater Arts? Messino's in here, though, the Theater Arts. They have their award ceremony, right, their banquet, so that's where they are. But what we wanted to do is just to let you know, testing actually did start on Friday for K, and then all the way, middle school didn't start. Actually, they did start on Friday. I'm going to read that to you in just a moment, just so that you know what's going on with the district. Usually in your mindset, you know that the last 10 days is when we test K-8, the last 5 days basically for high schools. So what I wanted to make sure was this year, before we get in there to let you know exactly the days that everybody's going on, I'll read that to you in just a second, was the great thing about retesting this year, our principals are in here, our parents hopefully have been notified, because that's the biggest piece, is you can retest during the academic year before the year's over with, and that proficiency counts, as it always has, but so does growth now. And in the year, that's like Keith, and I know people that have been in education see that normally you do not get the growth measure And that's so hard, we've advocated so hard for that. This year, though, in our testing window, if you retest, and Tyler takes it, he needs to retest the math, then that score and his growth is what his composite will be. So that's a wonderful thing to have a second chance, basically. I see Jay sitting there. If Jay did pass, which he would pass, I know that. But if he did it, he could come back in and then he would be able to do that. So that's a wonderful thing. So any questions on that? It's great if parents are asking you, should I let my, yeah. All they can get is the higher score. And that's always a good thing. And the growth will count. And growth simply means you start out, like Kyle was right here, he started out and he's 1 to 100 and he starts out 39th in line. But you want to make sure is by the end of the year, he's got a projected growth to either stay at lot number 39 or higher. What do we not want Kyle to do? Go to 26. If Kyle happens to do that and goes down to 26, which he wouldn't either, but if he goes down to 26, then he can retest and try to get that place in line back. Does that make sense? So that's what's great with the growth and the proficiency scores this year. What we handed you was on Friday, I didn't hand you, I was gonna let you know on Friday, Brush Creek, they did the math, I think Jen's back there. They did math on Friday. Hot Springs, Jimmy, does he have a ball game? He may have had a ball game. I think he might have had a ball game. They did reading on Friday, grades 3 through 5 did reading. And then Mars Hill had science, they did science last Friday. So they will be working on what I handed you is the upcoming testing schedule. That's what you've got right in front of you. So basically today at Brush Creek, Jen could say this, but they did grade 5 science in the grade. They do okay?
Gosh, I hope so.
I sure hope so too. They worked pretty hard. Mars Hill today, I didn't do Jimmy right there because he had a baseball game, his little fella. He coaches his son's team, so they had a game tonight. Mars Hill Elementary, Monday, I think Christina's kids had a game as well, but they did reading today. If you look on down the middle school, they didn't test today, but Blackman knows that tomorrow you're doing the 6-8 math. And are they ready, Blackman?
Yes.
Yes, they're ready. Early college starts on Friday, May the 22nd, and Caldwell has them ready. They're ready to go. And one thing funny about her last year was she had that mentality of elementary principal getting them back. No, you're retesting. You're coming back. You're retesting. Did that help?
Yes.
Absolutely. You get into the math of this, it absolutely helps your school and it helps you as an individual to retest. Then you can go all the way down through there, Tuesday the 26th, Wednesday, May the 27th. If you turn it on the back, it just goes through the rest. So we thought that if you just had a one-pager that showed you kind of our testing schedule for the rest of the school year, just know that we're moving and shaking with the testing and the possibility of the retesting for the growth and proficiency. Any questions? Anybody can, yes. No. Yeah, well, if you passed it, normally, like if you made a 3, 4, or 5, normally you would want to retest. But
Some kids make it 3 and they
Yeah.
want to retest up to 4.
we have not seen that in the past. Normally, if they get through and they want to, they have 3 principals. Have you ever had anybody that's passed and wanted to make higher?
I think someone who's asked before,
Yeah.
but that's, they don't.
That's a great question, but normally, we can ask that, but normally they're wanting to retest to get from that 2 to 3. That bubble is right there, the sweet spot to try to
How
do it.
quickly do they give the test results?
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's English.
But 24 hours, you just shoot them in and then they populate back. The only one we don't get is the English 2, because that's a narrative response, and those have to be stored, and then they get them sent back.
The Friday test is Davis and Butter.
So we just-
So it's 24 hours.
You have allowed students to retest?
Oh, yeah, and parents, no, I'm just kidding.
I just told him that girls were going to retest boys.
At least he said that perfectly just then. Yeah, I'll say that out loud. Yeah.
Girls worry about their grades. Boys, I had a house full of
He
boys.
said that perfectly.
C average is good.
Yeah, they're good,
Yeah.
Does the middle school take the science, Jen?
Yes, 8th grade.
It's every Friday.
And they used to do really well. They, you know, but again, as Haley, it was Haley, talked about science being renormed.
It was.
Yes. It was renormed, and what happens then is it's just a lot more difficult, and we have to figure figure out the best way to navigate that. So we're in a renorming year, which our scores might do a little dip, and then we'll get them back up. But then they probably may be great this year. You have to keep that positivity. Yes, you do. All right, any questions on that? And that was Dr. Davis, and she was good to meet you. Now, the second thing was Ms. Huntsinger, and what she has done here is this is the summer reading camp update. Now, what this does is, I'll let everybody get one, and I'm just gonna show you that this is just a generic one. I think that this one, I don't know which one you guys got, but up here at the top, if you look at, now this is just our districts. This isn't the one that is for DPI or comes from the state. This was created here for our schools. And they did a great job with this, I thought. It's a one pager that shows a little everything. If you go to the complete right where it says goal, that's how you get into the program. For example, if you're in second grade and you are not at a 439 score within class data, then you're eligible to be in the program. Does that make sense? So if you're in third grade and you're not at that 445, if you're 445 or below, then that has you eligible for the program. And so the program this year is really neat. It's 12 days. And then what they have, they've entitled it Passport to Reading Camp. And they all come in with a passport. And then they're going to, if you look at that one pager, it actually is really good. It shows you our curriculums, our theme, what they'll be doing at each school. It'll be Hot Springs, at Brush Creek, and at Mars Hill. You'll have 2 teachers at Brush Creek and at Mars Hill, 1 teacher at Hot Springs. You'll have cafeteria staff, and you'll have a bus driver. And then you have your day 8 to 3, and the dates are June the 10th through June the 25th. And that's kind of how our summer program works for second and third graders. Normally, we have approximately 50 students that will be enrolled in this, not at each school, 10 to 15 at Hot Springs, 20 or so at Brush Creek, 20 or so at Mars Hill, a combination of all. All right. And all that's doing is trying to help with that. Yes.
This is really good.
They did a phenomenal job on just creating that. I don't know if they use Canva, I don't know what they use to do it, but it's just a really great one-pager to show.
And some of the materials that go with it, like the passport, like you guys made.
Oh, yeah, that's out in my office area, and you can go see all the stuff that actually goes with the program. So it's a really fun, neat little thing for them to be able to do while they're still building those stores where they need to be. All right? All right. That's it for that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, we're moving on to policies. May I have a motion to adopt the following policies on the second reading. And I will make a clarification on that. I think it's 1740, 4010, student and parent grievance procedure, 1750, 7220, grievance procedure for employees, 2125, 7315, confidential information, 2127, board member technology use, to adopt it, but with the exception that we exclude C3B. Then 3101, dual enrollment, 3220, technology in the educational program, 3225, 4312, 7320, technology responsible use, 3226, 4207, internet safety, 3227, 7322, web page development, 3400, evaluation of student progress, and 3460, graduation requirements. May I have a motion to adopt these on the second reading with the exclusion of C3B out of the 2127 policy?
Make a motion to adopt.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, thank you. Mr. Wall, if you'll give us the financial report.
On the finance core, it should be around 92%. We're 11 months into the 12 months for the year. On our fines, you saw the fines went down about $5,000. So for the whole year, we're down about 18,000. So we'll have to come up with where to fill that gap somewhere. And then on budget amendments, you have one for federal, one for capital outlay, and one for special revenue, and those were just a short couple of purpose codes and a couple of PRCs and some repair and renovation funds.
Thank you, sir. On the consent agenda, now I have a motion to approve the following. Personnel, the 2026-2027 local application for career and technical education, state and federal funding, in Florida, at Marcel Elementary and the budget. And I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor? Mr. Coates? Do you have any citizen participation?
All right, we have two people signed up. The first is, you want me to read it? You're good?
You're good.
The first is Graham Freeland, and the next is Kirsten Davis.
That was my fault. I just thought we had to sign.
All right, no worries, no worries. You are excused.
Yeah.
I'll start the time with you.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, greetings to all. Nice to be back. Sorry I missed last month's meeting. I heard it was pretty eventful. I'd like to just share with you that May 15th was past Friday. At the Madison High School award ceremony, I had the honor of presenting a scholarship award to a very deserving student on behalf of the Madison County Democratic Party. The student not only demonstrated academic excellence, but also wrote an impressive essay, including Benjamin Franklin's famous quote, "Republic of the people." He shared how meaningful was his experience voting for the first time in the March primary, and expressed a desire to hold officials accountable after they're elected by tracking their legislative actions, attending local board meetings, and demanding they deliver on these commitments. There was much more, but I'd like to share my observations about the positive atmosphere at the awards ceremony. It was clear to me that all educators present had a great relationship with students, not only knowing each of them well, but also showing an appreciation for the dedication of parents toward their kids and demonstrating an in-depth knowledge of the community in which we live. I then reflected a bit on the report from the preliminary statewide survey, which we may have all seen released May 6th by the State Board of Education about North Carolina teachers. That was in the May 9th Citizen Times, indicating that teachers show their loyalty to schools but face many hardships. Examples include low pay, limits on time, challenges in managing student conduct, and gaps in support for students with higher needs. Teachers reported working an average of over 9 hours per week outside the school day, often at night and on weekends. And despite that, about 84% plan to stay at their current school and 91% plan to continue teaching next year. They cited the importance of trust in school leadership and that retention is both related to building trust with peers, but it's closely tied to principals. And the report also notes that more than 3/4 of principals work at least 51 hours a week. So my observation, based on my participation in the award ceremony, Board of Education meetings, conversations with teachers, principals, central school administrators, is that Madison County educators are deeply committed to ensuring the success of our students. And I'd like to express my deep appreciation for your engagement, even as you face many challenges. Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right, under new business, first, the arts resolution that Dr. Hoffman read. I want to see if I can have a motion to approve the arts RARE education resolution. Do I have a motion to approve it?
I'd like to make that motion. We approve the Arts ARE education resolution.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you all for all that you do. All in favor? Okay. Next on the agenda, before we do any kind of motion, we're talking about naming from the wrestling facility in honor of John Clark. Dr. Hopkins has a few things he'd like to say.
Yeah, I just want to thank Ms. Clark for being here, and Mr. Woods and the Jamersons who are very active, and I appreciate your activity with all of our sports, particularly wrestling. Ms. Caldwell for bringing this recommendation forward, seeing it through all the iterations and meetings and making sure we get to this point. But it is my honor to recommend that the wrestling facility be named in honor of Coach John Clark. For years, Coach Clark represented the very best of Madison County schools and North Carolina high school athletics. He built a wrestling program defined not only by competitive excellence, but by character. Under his leadership, student athletes learned that success is rooted in effort, perseverance, and unwavering sportsmanship. He truly honored Madison County and the great tradition of North Carolina high school athletics through decades of integrity, service, and an honest love for who he was coaching. Naming the wrestling facility in his honor would be a fitting and well-deserved recognition of a coach whose legacy will endure in the lives of countless student athletes. So I would like to recommend that we name that facility.
May I have a motion to approve naming the wrestling facility in honor of John Clark?
Make that motion.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. We conclude this meeting if everyone representing, so for you all for wrestling, if you all stay, we'd like to take a picture, and with our artists, we'd like to take a picture with you all. All right, so, Monday is Memorial Day. We will be off at that time. On March 28th, the middle school is having their 8th grade promotion, 6 o'clock at the high school. Gym, high school gym. And then on the 29th at 6 o'clock at night, we're having the early college graduation. I'm not saying where yet, we're waiting for the weather. And then on May 30th, we'll have the high school graduation, Madison High School graduation at 10 a.m. We'll know before that time exactly where it's going to be at. Also, this is for the board and central office. Wednesday night is the spring athletic banquet. If you all can be there by 5:30 for us, and those who come early will be put to work, as you know. And then that's this week. Yeah, that's this week.
Yeah.
This Wednesday.
This one.
Yeah, this Wednesday.
Change your mind.
All right, and then June 22nd will be our next regular session meeting, 5 o'clock closed, 5:30 work, 6 o'clock open. And if there's no other business, may I have a motion to adjourn the Madison County Board of Education meeting? I'll make that motion. Second.
Second.
Do we discuss it? All in favor? Thank you, everyone. If we could have, please, if you all come up. And